Well, we weren't completely satisfied with that answer. So we asked our Gary Nuremberg to follow up on the question of whether or not Pepco has half as many line workers now as it did 15 years ago. So, Gary, how do those numbers add up?
Well, what we learned, Derek, is that Mr. Graham is not going to give us an answer. We asked him after he left his talk with you in the studio.
You know, I listened to your conversation with Derek a few minutes ago,
Yes.
and he quoted that union rep last night as saying you had half as many line people approximately as you did 15 years ago. You never said whether, in fact, that allegation on the part of Mr. Griffith is true. Is that a fact? You have about half as many line people as you did 15 years ago?
You know, I don't know the exact number, and we're in the midst of negotiations right now. What I do know is we have hired several hundred contractors and union employees to support some of the reliability efforts, and we just hired another 59 line mechanics with another 14 on the way.
So with the 59 and 14, that brings you to a total of how many?
Again, I don't know. At this point in time, I'm focused on the restoration for those 95,000 customers out of service.
Well, again, let me go back to that issue. I know you can't give me an exact number, or that you say that you can't, but his allegation is that you've got roughly half as many line people as 15 years ago. So understandably, you don't know the exact number, but approximately, is that correct?
I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not involved in union negotiations. I'm focused on the restoration of service.
Sure. I don't mean to talk about the union negotiations, sir. I just need to know about the number of line people that the company employs now as compared to 15 years ago.
I don't know that number. You know, I am focused on restoring service to 95,000 customers, and that's all I think about right now.
As the president of the company, you said you don't know if you've got half as many linemen now as you did 15 years ago?
Again, I'm focused on the restoration of 95,000 customers. I do not have the counts at my fingertips.
Okay, but again, approximately you can't tell me if it's half or not?
Approximately I do not, because it's a workforce consisting of a combination of union employees and also a contract workforce.
Pepco does have more lines to maintain than it did 15 years ago, more customers than it did 15 years ago, paying higher rates than 15 years ago. Does it have half as many line workers as it did then, as the union alleges? Well, you just saw our efforts to find out. Mr. Graham was gracious enough to stick around for some other questions. A company press release Tuesday said its all-out focus is restoring critical care facilities. 4 days in, what are those facilities and why aren't they fixed yet?
There's so many of those facilities, and they're all over the service territory. We started with 443,000 customers out of service. We're down to about 95,000. There are 123 facilities that still remain without service, of about 400 total in our service territory. They've all been assigned crews, so they're all scheduled to restore service today or tomorrow, but it's all a function of how much damage that's occurred on their lines.
What are the most notable of those facilities?
You know, I don't know them by name, but certainly they're spread out throughout the service territory.
After a meeting of the Prince George's County Legislature following last year's winter storm where there were widespread power outages, Graham said he saw no rate increase in the immediate future. Within months, you did make a request for a rate increase. Given the anger of the customers that you're out there serving who vote for those legislators, I guess the question on the part of your customers, how can you justify a request for a rate increase when there are so many people suffering right now?
We've invested millions of dollars to improve reliability for our customers. It's the investment we make in the regulatory pack. There's a recovery mechanism for those investments, and it's critical for us to continue to make those investments that we do get appropriate rate recovery.
In the statement that your company put out today, you're quoted as saying, "I understand the inconvenience of not having power for an extended period of time," and you go on to thank your customers for their patience. Let me just follow up on that statement. When you say you understand the inconvenience of not having power for a long period of time, do you really? Have you sat in a house with no power, with children and pets, in this humidity and this heat for days on end? You say you understand it, but do you feel it at your core as your customers do?
I feel it as a core because I was born and raised here, and my friends and my family and my neighbors are here. And if they're suffering, I'm suffering too. I hear from them every single day, and I know what they're going through. So yes, I do have a full appreciation for what's taking place right now.
When Gary, you know, I mean, come on. He talked to Derek?
Yep.
I mean, you went there. How many more questions do you have?
Just another couple minutes.
Tom, it's your call.
Your call, sir. I don't want to keep...
We're done. We're done. Let's go.
Sir, thank you.
By most household standards, Mr. Graham makes a lot of money, but he has an impossibly tough job and is not responsible for all of Pepco's policy decisions. He's worked this storm hard, been out on the streets, 10 hours sleep total in the last 4 days. He's under enormous pressure and was kind enough to come in on a busy day to take the questions it's our job to ask. We think it's his job to answer them and believe it is our job to follow up when we don't think he has answered them. We hope you learned some things from that interview, and again, we thank Mr. Graham for coming in. Derek.